Rare Gem Productions proudly presents Entrepreneurially Thinking. Entrepreneurially Thinking is a presentation of BioSTL and CET, the Center for Emerging Technologies, changing the way you view new ventures and activating your entrepreneurial mindset, empowering you to create new pathways for business success in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. Here's your hosts, Cheryl and Christy. Now let's get thinking entrepreneurially.
Welcome back to the Entrepreneurially Thinking Podcast. I'm Christy Maxfield.
And I'm Dr. Cheryl Watkins-Moore. I lead BioSTL's STEM Entrepreneurial Inclusion Initiative here for the region. Hey, lady.
How are you?
I am okay.
You've been busy.
Oh, real busy.
Out and about.
Yes, but it's
doing
been good.
Stuff,
it's been good.
Planning things.
Always. And 4th of July, we just, this is going to come up late, but we just did our 4th of July.
This is going to air like close to
Labor Day.
Yeah, probably close to the Vision 2019 conference.
Yes.
But yes, we just did have a little nostalgia for all the things we ate or didn't eat.
Yeah, we did. It was good.
It
was good.
On the 4th. So, well, food brings us together in a way that almost nothing else does.
Yes, you can always bribe us with food.
Really, or, trick us into doing things with it too, yeah. I'm sure. Absolutely. But on that note, we are staying busy and you are listening to this close to Vision 2019, which is on October 18th. So we want to remind you that this is the region's only inclusive innovation conference that celebrates, educates, and supports women, people of color, and immigrant entrepreneurs, both those who are just starting out and emerging, as well as those with existing businesses.
Yes. So you guys want to come out.
Absolutely. Check out visionstlewis.com. Also, check out our founding sponsor, CET BioSTL, their websites and newsletters so that you can stay up to date on everything. Again, by the time this airs, we will be into the Square One program for the fall. So
you'll have your cohort.
We'll have all sorts of things going on. And
just so everybody knows, Vision 2019, our keynote speaker is Cedric Cobb. So if you guys
that's a play on not
KNOT.
Being the tie that he wears, right? He's known for his bow ties and his pocket squares.
He was just on Shark Tank, guys. Got some money, so he's going to be there talking at Vision 2019.
And that's going to cap off a full day of activities. So make sure you find out more about that, register, and then make sure you share the podcast with your friends. ETHINKSTL, Ethink Podcast, stay listening. You can find us anywhere that you find your podcast, even places like Spotify, which I just learned. So it's very cool and exciting.
Wherever you all are, we want to be. So take us on your walks and every place else.
So where are you? Where have you been hanging out? What have you been learning?
So background, y'all. As y'all know, here we start. According to the United States National Library of Medicine, racial differences in health dates back to some of the earliest health records in the United States, with African Americans having poorer health than whites across a broad range of health status indicators.
And we know that here in St. Louis.
I was going to say, we didn't have to go to the U.S. National Library of Medicine to figure that out. Yes, that's a given, right?
Well, it's not just here.
Right.
But we've certainly got our own data to prove that.
So our guests today, they saw a need to introduce and advocate for the mental and physical benefits of yoga in minority communities, guys. This is so cool. This is going to be a great conversation.
Absolutely.
After getting its start in 2017, Collective STL enhances the health and wellness in the North St. Louis communities by offering ancient yoga practices, wellness events, and community gatherings. I'm sure there's some food in there, so y'all... We're going to be talking to
healthy
them. So
food.
If you're interested in bending and twisting your way into a healthier and happier you should stay listening.
BioSTL is a proud founding sponsor of the Entrepreneurially Thinking Podcast. We want you to know about all the great things they are up to, including the BioSTL STEM Entrepreneur Inclusion Initiative and Fundamentals Program for early stage would-be entrepreneurs in the life sciences in St. Louis. You can learn more about all of BioSTL's programs by visiting biostl.org. And for your renewed and continuing support, BioSTL, we say thank you.
Purpose First Advisors is proud to support the Entrepreneurially Thinking Podcast. Purpose First works with entrepreneurs and the organizations that support them to accelerate business formation, scaling, and transformational growth. For more information about how to work with Purpose First Advisors on business model validation, financial modeling, core messaging, or other growth and profitability strategies, visit purposefirstadvisors.com.
My name is Ericka Harris.
Terry Harris from the Collective STL.
And entrepreneurially thinking, to me, means using a business model to take care of community.
And the freedom to disrupt systems to ensure that all people are well.
Joining us today are Terry and Ericka Harris and Alonzo Nelson Jr., the co-founders, actually 3 out of the 4 co-founders of the Collective STL. This is a team of amazing yogis who are helping to bring the yoga philosophy and practice, spiritual, mental, physical practice of yoga to North St. Louis and to other communities as well. We're so glad that you're here.
Yes, welcome.
Thanks for having
us. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. So we've got 3 out of the 4.
Yes.
Recently, one of your co-founders relocated, did they not?
Yes, she did.
Oh,
yeah.
Where did she go?
Where's she taking yoga?
She's in D.C. now.
Yeah.
So you guys are becoming a chain.
That's what we're working on.
That's it.
So when we first started, we had there were 6 of us who went through a program together, and one person left to go to Colorado.
Right.
So this is not the first.
Let's start the Collective Colorado, and it didn't necessarily go that way, but we are talking about the Collective.
That's very cool.
Right.
Yeah.
So when did you guys get together? Okay, I would like to start from the beginning.
From the beginning.
So
before you were a yogi.
Are you guys siblings? Who's the siblings here?
There are no siblings.
We have
Just
a husband and wife.
Husband and wife.
Yeah.
Okay, so talk to us about husband and wife. Did you all grow up here in St. Louis?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what's your path been?
Well, like, how far back do you want to go, though?
Well, after
She'll
you
go
left,
way back.
I'm not going
so wherever
that
you
way
feel
back. Wherever you
comfortable.
feel, right.
I cute love music, so.
Alonzo's got the soundtrack cued, and we're ready to go.
Did you all grow up together? Did you,
No.
Okay, so maybe talk
We
to
went
us
to
about.
different high schools.
Okay.
And met in high school.
Okay.
And then went to college together.
Where did you go to undergrad?
We went to Southwest Missouri State. It's Missouri State now.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then came home.
High school sweethearts.
Yeah.
I really didn't understand that because it was like, don't you have to go to the same high school to be high school sweethearts? But I guess not. We were in high school.
I think you got to be a high schooler.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
cool.
like each other.
I just didn't know the rules.
I don't know if there are rules, but according to entrepreneurally thinking, you just have to be a high schooler.
I was like, the only
We were
rule
high
that
schoolers.
exists is that you're both in high school. One wasn't in high school. One wasn't 60
and you made
years
it through
old.
college.
Okay, that's the only rule. Okay.
Oh my God. So then after that, moved back to St. Louis?
Yeah.
Back to St. Louis, and I started working at Edward Jones Investment Firm.
Okay.
And then Ericka was in education.
You were teaching where?
I was teaching in Rockwood
Okay.
School District.
What grades?
8th grade.
Ooh.
Language arts.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been doing that for 14 years now.
Oh.
13, 14 years.
Dealing
don't
with
even
8th
know.
graders.
Middle and high school.
Oh my
So
God.
now I'm doing
God
high
bless you.
school.
Yes.
I love it.
I love to teach, but on the college level where
Yeah.
I don't care if you come to class or not.
She likes that self-empowered,
Yeah.
self-determination kind of
Right.
student,
Yeah.
as opposed to the not so much.
Yeah.
Understood.
But Terry,
That's
you're in
admirable.
education now as well.
I am in education. So I work in the Rockwood School District, and I am the Executive Director of Student Services. So my position is looking at how to be innovative with wellness and health for students. So safety and these different things. So I've been in this role going on my 5th year now,
Okay.
but I've been in Rockwood School District for 14 years.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Alonzo, you're from East St. Louis originally.
I'm from East St. Louis, yes.
Okay.
And so Miss Ricky Henry, who you met on the
Yes.
way in, she's like, I know him. He doesn't know me, but I know him.
Yeah, my dad was her math teacher.
Yeah. So the thing you all might not know about Ricky Henry as our listener, we actually don't bring her up too much because she's very shy. But I believe she is the de facto mayor of East St. Louis.
East St.
because
Louis, yeah.
Wow.
she knows just about
That's
everybody.
kind of how it works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just about everybody
Yeah.
there. So I'm glad you guys reconnected and realized that you're
Yeah.
just.
So
you
you
know.
grew up in East St. Louis. Did you go to undergrad or what happened? What did you do?
Yeah, yeah. So I grew up in East St.Louis. Both of my parents are math teachers.
Okay.
So I went off to Hampton University on track scholarship and transferred.
HBCU.
Yeah.
I'm a Fiskite, so yes.
Okay. I transferred to SEMO and finished my degree there.
For our listeners, can you tell them what SEMO is?
Southeast Missouri State in
Yes.
Cape Girardeau.
Right.
So yeah, you guys are that. So we have so many Missouri states by, and
Right.
it's insane. Yeah, Northwest, Southwest,
Yeah.
Southeast. Yes, it's central. But yoga has always been a part of my my life. I think my mom introduced it to me while she was pregnant with my little brother. We're 12 years apart.
Okay.
So I learned about yoga around the 9th grade.
So did you do undergrad? I mean, what was your focus?
No, so undergrad I was chemistry.
Oh, wow.
So I got my
Well, tell her
undergrad.
you went to college on a scholarship for track. Like that.
Yeah,
That's,
I did.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So I got a track scholarship. And initially I was a pharmacy major, and when I transferred to Southeast Missouri State, I changed it to chemistry so that I could stay on track scholarship, because I would have had to transfer my sophomore year. After my sophomore year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what did you do? What were you thinking about you were going to do with that chemistry degree?
So honestly, I was still preparing to go to pharmacy school. I just couldn't let go of track, though. So I kept running track, and after I graduated, I ran track professionally for a while.
Wow.
So I trained in Los Angeles under Bob Kersey at UCLA. And while I was training for track and field, I had some mentors in East St. Louis tell me to get some education hours, and I started substitute teaching. And so I got into education
so
as well.
all three of you guys in education.
Yes, yes, we're all educators.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then so how, clearly we had the love connection, so that was established. And we've got prior yoga experience.
Yeah, I've been doing yoga for 20 years.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So 20 years of yoga experience.
What about you
guys,
two, Ericka?
did you just wake up one morning and be like, I need to stretch more? Or
No. So Ericka actually went through
no.
a
You're
program.
not funny, Christy.
That was hilarious. No, Ericka went through a program first. So you're going to talk about your experience?
So I started yoga because I bought Terry a gift certificate
that he didn't use?
that sat
That sounds
for a year.
Yep.
Okay.
So let me just interrupt. Right?
Okay.
So
Is
just
there a
You're
little
trying to
revision
redeem.
history
He's
that
trying
we
to
need
redeem
do here?
himself.
no,
Okay.
I'm not trying to redeem myself. I
Okay.
just want to make sure that
Okay.
we're very clear.
Yes.
Imagine not really practicing yoga at all.
either of us.
Right.
And
Mind
someone
you.
says, hey, I have a gift card for you to go practice yoga at this place. And then you look up the place and they say the temperature in the room is going to be 105 degrees
hot yoga.
Well, he said
for
he wanted
90
to do
minutes.
Oh, that's
no.
no. See, I don't subscribe. So
I'm
we
with
met
you.
a few
Okay.
weeks ago, but I haven't shared with you that my husband is very supportive of me doing yoga teacher training, with the one caveat that I can't get weird on him. And when I asked him to define weird, he said, "Don't be doing that hot yoga." And I said,
You know what's so funny?
"Hot yoga's weird.
You know what's so
Crystals
funny?
ain't weird. Acupuncture's not weird.
all the things.
Hot yoga's
yoga.
weird."
Yes.
He's like, "Yeah, I've decided
man.
hot yoga's weird. Don't do it." I was like, "Don't worry. I sweat in a nice temperate environment. I don't need to go into an overheated room."
Right.
I introduced my wife to yoga that way too, and I felt bad
The
about
hot
it.
yoga?
Yeah, I
Oh,
don't
I
know. I
didn't
thought
feel
it was a
bad.
great idea,
He
but
said
as
he
I
wanted
saw
to do it.
it was
So,
bad.
Oh, my
all right.
God.
So
Finish-
the
finish.
gift certificate, what is that
It's
to?
a bad idea.
I understand, but I'm really impressed that you decided you
So,
were
Ericka,
going
you
in.
took
So
the
I used the
Uh-huh.
gift certificate
Okay, so-
and fell in love with yoga. And then
And you did hot yoga and fell in love with
please
it.
let me know
That
if
was
the
your first
collective
class?
yeah.
decides.
We're all looking at
Wow.
her like, are you kidding me?
And if the collective decides to have a hot yoga day, just let us all know so we can opt out. If we
Gotcha.
I was going to say,
I just
'cause
want a heads up.
Yeah.
It would never be
wanna-
105 degrees in that
Nah.
space.
Oh, my God.
I'm counting on
So
We'll
that.
have to
you
put in some
started
work
the
to get that
trend, then you joined, Terry, right?
So I did end up going.
Okay.
And I had a membership, and we used to go all the time. And then Ericka actually went through a teacher training program
Okay.
first. So I think her program was, 2 years before our
So
program?
wait a
Yeah,
minute,
2
when
years
did you all
before.
start? How many years ago then now?
They're
Was the
taking us
first
to
class?
the even prior.
My
Yeah.
first yoga class was probably in 2007,
Okay.
Wow.
6 or 7.
Wow. So you guys been practicing for a long time.
Yeah.
And then so the idea for the collective, y'all met
Okay.
recently
These
then,
two,
right?
Do you want to talk about?
Yeah, so we were in.
Who is we? 'Cause me
Alonzo.
and-
Yeah, it's funny. Like we started talking.
right.
It's
We
like, hey
seeing
guys,
each other. Don't y'all see
they
who
can't
we
see
talking
you.
about?
It's okay. That's why we're here.
You don't know my voice by now, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So Alonzo,
You know me.
Alonzo and I went through a teacher training program, and we had 7 people of color in the program. So,
Which is remarkable because there's
Yes.
not a lot of
Absolutely.
teacher.
It is.
There's not a lot of black yogis to begin
Right.
with,
Right.
and then there's not a lot of teacher training programs where you're going to have 7 folks.
Absolutely.
Of
Right.
color.
Keep going. And then
Yeah.
there's black men.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
Well, and I have to say, of the 2 classes so far that I've been to at the Collective, you have had more men.
Yeah.
Like, clearly more black men, but more men than any yoga class I've been to in 20 years.
Yeah. And I think that
at all.
We're definitely going to talk about that, because I think that there's a strategy that goes with that that we really plan and think about to get those men in the class.
Okay, we will come back to that. But right now we're meeting, you guys are having the bromance.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
we have the romance,
that's exactly
and then
what
the
it was,
bromance happens.
Yeah.
So how did the bromance happen?
So we had 23 people in our program, and we had 7 people of colors, black people, and there's that natural gravitation,
affinity,
like, hey, how you doing?
There's a brother in the class.
Right.
I can't wait to tell my wife about this.
Exactly. Exactly. And so we just kind of started talking, and throughout the program, we were thinking about what we wanted to do, where we were going to take yoga. And it was very clear, like, we don't see black men doing yoga. We don't really see black people in the studio.
Black male yoga teachers.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think the other reason that we kind of gravitated to each other was because in many spaces, like, we're the only ones. We're the only black person or the only black male in the space. And so to find another one,
it's like a unicorn.
Definitely.
Yeah. I love the fact that you guys, when you came together, Ericka, you were the 3rd person I was
the
4th
person in. Okay.
Of that amazing 6 that first had this idea.
Yeah. So how did you all come up with the idea that you wanted to bring yoga to African American communities? I mean, how did that coalesce?
Yeah, I think that it was one of those situations, again, where we had the luxury of taking classes at studios and different things like that. And the first thing that you notice is that it's you're the only person, but it's $20, $25 to practice.
That part too.
So one of the things that we talked a lot about is that yoga for us was this healing space, opportunity. We felt good. Yeah. We felt healthy. And so the question of the collective started with the question. And the question was, should yoga be accessible for some or for all people? And when we're talking about accessibility, we're not talking about accessibility in terms of ability. We're talking about accessibility in terms of financial economics accessibility.
Right.
Like, there are no yoga studios in North St. Louis. If you're an entrepreneur and you say, hey, I want to open up a yoga studio, most people are not saying, I want to go to North St. Louis. And from an entrepreneur standpoint, like, you probably can get a space that is decent and cheap there. But then there's this fear that, the people won't show up, they won't come.
Well, that was going to be my question. Is that because yoga is not, in the African American community. How did you guys get people interested to go and be a part of it? Because that's got to be I don't want to say Herculean task, but for a lot of people of color, they're like, well, what is this? And I got to put my butt up in the air, and what you talk? Downward dog, y'all. That's what I'm talking about. Okay?
You're not twerking,
right? So, how did you all get the message out and get people interested in all of that?
I think historically, we've, like you said, we've known yoga to be something that middle-aged or middle class or housewives, white housewives do.
Lululemon outfits on, right.
And so for us, we were intentional about making sure that, you see us and we see you. And we actually used our social media platforms, our personal platforms to, kind of get the word out. And as we were going through our yoga teacher training, I was letting people know what I was doing, and we were always inviting people into our space. And I think what really spearheaded it was our first event.
I was going to ask, how did you all, what was the first event? And how was the first class? How did you get people into class to actually start?
I think so the first event was an Ahimsa event.
Can you explain what that is?
Yeah. So it's nonviolence.
It's one of the limbs of yoga.
Yeah.
And so Ahimsa being the Sanskrit word for nonviolence.
Right.
Well, hey, I'm really in the study process here. If I don't get this right, my teacher's going to take me to task.
There we go.
But it's a beautiful word. Ahimsa is just this beautiful word. And then
and we used that concept to honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So we had an event in the space that we're in now. And we invited tons of people. These guys were fresh out of their teacher training program, so that brought a lot of people. In December. Yeah.
So the event was what? It wasn't. Was it yoga plus other things?
Yoga.
It was just yoga.
Yes. Oh,
you
cool.
thought they had to lure them with food, didn't you?
I thought,
or something shiny. A shiny object is something.
No.
Yeah.
It was almost like a graduation party to some degree, though, too, right?
So people came out, were they curious? Were they like, what is this about?
Yeah, so the AHISMA event was, we had just graduated. And so most of the people who were there were family members. Okay. We had our people who were part of our YTT, which is Yoga Teacher Training Program. Most of the people there were they knew yoga, right? So they were supporting us.
That's great.
Yeah. And we were excited. We had 40-something people. Yeah. And we were super excited. Like, this is amazing. This is
shirts
great.
made.
Yeah. I see a shirt that you have on right now.
This
Love
is one
it,
of our first shirts.
We'll take a picture of it so you can see it. Yeah.
And then what happened is the next Saturday we had our first
regular
class.
Yeah.
And we had 4 people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The next Saturday we had 3. Yeah. And then we had 4. And then we had 3, right?
And you got to keep going.
But you keep going because the mission wasn't necessarily about making tons of money.
Right. No, it was
about introducing yoga to a group of people that we feel like need yoga.
And I was going to say yoga, especially in our communities of color, there's a lot of stress in our communities.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of health disparities.
Definitely.
So being able to bring, I believe it's a healing, art to communities that are in tribulation. I mean, there's a lot of things going on. So how have you guys been accepted by community? I see smiles. When I said that, everybody just brightened up.
Yeah, because yoga is just the instrument that we use to create community.
Yeah.
Right? So we tell people all the time, like, we're not a yoga studio. Like, we're a family.
Yeah.
So we just started to introduce, Alonzo does a lot of our social media, and then Ericka does a lot of the writing. And I get to talk to people like Chris. But Alonzo introduced this concept on social media not too long ago called Ubuntu, which is a South African philosophy that says, I exist because you exist, or I am because you are.
Like we're connected.
We're connected.
Always.
And so that's the spirit that we try to create in our space. So when people say, oh, I don't know how to do yoga, I'm not really all that good, it's like,
okay.
Come.
Right.
Yeah. Just come for the hug. Come for the smile. Come to be encouraged. And there's so many people, who come to yoga and it's like, man, I know I didn't do good, but I felt good.
Right.
And people were encouraging me. And then you can start to look at the timeline or look at social media accounts and people are responding to the things that they're saying. It's like, oh, you got it.
Yeah,
that's very. So right? you 2 men are leading these classes, some of these classes, right?
4 of us.
We take at the same time.
No. What? We started off teaching that way.
Okay, we were the collective, so we collectively
that was
taught.
our thing.
Yeah.
So have you gotten a lot of men in these classes?
Definitely, yes.
Yeah.
I think.
And how is because I'm for a black man to go to I am married to a black man that would look at yoga and go, what?
But who just did a float and loved it.
Yeah, flow is legit.
Yeah, he
loved
it. Okay, yeah. I was terrified when the lights went out.
Really? You might be underestimating him.
I had anxiety. I was like one of those people like, I need a light.
He was like, I could do this for days.
Right.
I could have called that.
Yeah.
But I mean, for have you guys had that? It's not an issue. How black men? How have they?
So what's funny is I'm starting to notice like a lot of middle-aged men. They when they find out that we do yoga, they say that that's something that their doctor prescribed them to try to do, or they've heard about it and they've known about it, but they've never felt like they were welcome to do it. Right. And so the fact that me and Terry teach yoga and we do yoga is they're welcoming to come and give it a try. So we get a lot of husbands that come in. I'm a track coach as well, so I get my athletes to come in and other athletes to come in, and everything. So
you
like
get
that.
young people in there. You get
definitely.
You have to go to a class.
Yeah.
I am like that's how I found out about float. Having a conversation.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to bring him to.
Please.
Yes.
No, you bring you. So let me tell you this
I can't
story.
Bring me. I gotta bring
No. You need to come.
You both need to go.
So
need to go.
We had
Hand
this
in hand.
lady. She's 60-something years old, Miss Virginia. And she walked in and she said, "Baby, I just want to know what you guys are doing in here because I see you all the time. I live right up the street." And I was like, "Oh, we do yoga." And she was like, "You do what?" "We do yoga."
Yeah.
So she said, "How much is it?"
Black though,
right? She was like,
Just checking. Want to make sure everybody's clear.
I was gonna say this is an older lady. I'm sure she needs it.
Yes, ma'am.
She said, "How much is it?" And I was like, "Oh, it's donation based. It's kind of like church. You just pay whatever you want to pay." And she was like, "Well, I'm going to come back." And then the next week she came, first person there, put her money into the little bag, and then, grabbed her chair and she started practicing yoga. And this lady has been with us for 3 weeks. She comes every Saturday now. And I know.
So this is recent.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I know that Miss Virginia is not necessarily coming because she's a pro at down dog. It's the energy. It's the space. Right. It's the energy.
Is.
And that reduces the stress.
Yes.
And then you can breathe. Yes. And then you can connect with people.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you can make, partnerships with folks and learn things. I mean, that's really what we're trying to create.
And I love the fact that you've created not a barrier for people to
participate.
Yes. So when we come back, we will be talking more about. I want to understand this donation model and how that's working and how that works for you guys. So we'll be back.
CET, the Center for Emerging Technologies, is a proud founding sponsor of the Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. We want you to know about all the great resources they provide, including the Square One Ignite and Bootcamp programs, as well as the online startup toolkit. The toolkit has videos, articles, and other materials to help you build your business. For more information about CET's programs, visit CETSTL.com. And for your renewed and continued support, CET, we say thank you.
I'm Alonzo Nelson Jr. from the Collective STL, and entrepreneurially thinking means bringing my passion to the world.
So you all were talking about the energy of the space. I've had the pleasure of practicing there. It's bright and open, and there's a lot of natural light, and y'all are really welcoming. So as we talked about, your mission is to bring yoga to the Black community. You're located in a predominantly Black community in North St. Louis. We're probably talking 98% Black community, and I'm not Black, as our listeners know. But I felt really welcome in the space. That this was made clear to me early on that while this was very much intentionally a space created for Black people to feel comfortable in, but that I would also be welcomed there as a practitioner. And I will have to say that was hands down my experience, that it is a wonderful space to be in. And as I said before, more men, period, than in any setting I have ever practiced in, and I've been doing this for a long time.
So this is a point for all you single ladies out there.
There were a lot of men.
Some
of them were there with their wives and girlfriends. To be clear, I noted there was some couplage going on.
That's okay.
So don't think it's open market season.
No, but if
there's some single college graduates going on.
There were definitely some younger gentlemen there.
There you go.
As well. So that energy you talk about. How have you really been able to cultivate that and the community piece? So you said Miss Virginia doesn't show up just because of the downward dog opportunities.
Yeah, one thing that it's as if you're welcoming somebody into your home. So when people come over, you greet them with a hug at the door, and then you
show them
around, help them make themselves at home, and that's the approach that I take.
That's great.
Every time I'm in the space, because welcoming. It is a sort of home. I think it has become a home for a lot of the people that return. And there's nothing like being greeted with a smile, a hug. How are you? If you notice that someone hasn't been there for a while, I've missed you.
Calling them by name.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Right.
Knowing their names. And another thing that I think helps with our community is that people can bring their small children if they need to.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen typically in a yoga studio. You have to find someone to
watch your kid,
or you can't come. Whereas we try to make it as accessible as possible.
And that's family oriented.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So generationally, you have all these different people in one space. You have Miss Virginia, then you have somebody's 2-year-old who's also there, who may run in and out of the studio space, but they're being exposed to yoga. Their parent is allowed to practice. I think that for myself, I try to make it a point that when we are coming to final relaxation, that I keep the kids away so that parents can kind of have their moment.
Yeah, they can have that space.
They can have that 5 minutes to themselves before they get back to their kids. So I think that's how we cultivate. I mean, it's just community all the way through and through.
Are you guys looking at how can you take this model, especially in some of these schools? I'm sure you guys have seen there's a lot of trauma in our schools. Yeah. And I know my kid, they did mindfulness in their school since kindergarten on up, which I think is very impactful.
Yeah.
Are you guys looking at or programs for students, the schools, or are you bringing the students into your studio?
Both.
Yeah. So we have this concept called Yoga for the Youth, which we're trying to get off the ground to have young people come into the space that are part of the community, like in the neighborhood. But we bring yoga to schools all the time. I mean, Alonzo teaches yoga at his school. Ericka teaches yoga at her school. In my position, I don't get a chance to teach yoga, but I have probably 8 people who are teaching yoga in schools.
Oh, wow.
So the research in terms of yoga in schools it's not even debatable anymore.
Right.
Nah.
We know that kids absolutely love it. The suspensions are down.
They need it.
Diffuses
all kind of drama that's about to happen.
Yeah.
Teachers need it as well.
And teachers need it.
Yeah.
And that's what I did in my district. I provided yoga for teachers.
Yeah.
From elementary to high school teachers, they could all come and practice yoga because they need it just as much as the students do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's the other big thing that we're trying to embark on, right? So in our space, being able to advertise, promote, and say, hey, let's, this is a free, or not free, but this is a yoga night for teachers, for educators.
Yeah.
So tap into that market as well. So
so we're going to get to this business model that you're talking about, this donation model, because as a serial entrepreneur, I think both of us are.
And we're very supportive of making things accessible, right? And removing price barriers.
Right.
Yeah.
And
so whether it's about creating a welcoming space, but then also making it so that it's not a financial burden, making it so that you can bring your kids, but also making it so that you can relax and enjoy the benefits, the healthy benefits.
But y'all got to pay for the space.
But y'all got to pay for this.
Okay, so how does this work? I mean, because donation models are great, but a lot of them are not sustainable models.
So we have a really good partnership with Rise STL.
Yeah.
So they're a development corporation.
So they're a
in
development
St. Louis?
corporation in St. Louis, and we explain our model and our concept with them. And so they are one of our partners.
Okay.
So they are helping to underwrite some of the costs.
Oh, that's great.
We still have costs though, right? So, but I will also say that, for Black people to be healthy in St. Louis, that's a benefit to the hospitals.
Oh, absolutely.
To the employers, right? And so the motto is to have it donation based for the individuals now. But then how do we tap into partnering with BJC? How do we tap into partnering with Enterprise or Edward Jones or St. Louis Public School District or the local grocery store? Yeah. And so creating a situation to say, hey, here's what the research says about healthy employers.
So is that what you're looking at? Is that what you're going after, those partnership models?
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's interesting. Lost my train of thought. Go ahead.
Because what we also know is from an economic standpoint, Black people are big business and Black people spend a lot of money. And so what we're trying to create is this platform for individuals to then invest in the Black community. It's absolutely important for people to invest in the Black community. It's 80-something percent, 90% Black where we are, and 86% of the people are living below the poverty line.
Right.
How is that a benefit to the city of St. Louis?
Right. If we don't invest in those communities and we don't invest in those people, and we don't make sure those folks are healthy and well,
they're going to be there.
They're going to be there. Right.
Our economic strategy is based on Ubuntu. I exist because you exist. I am because you are. Those people are not going anywhere.
So basically, the other thing with our donation is we make it clear that your donation allows someone else who cannot pay for yoga to practice yoga.
Right.
And so the beautiful thing about it is we get people that don't practice at all to send donations in.
Oh, that's great.
One young lady that did yoga teacher training with us, she just donated. She sent us a donation for Juneteenth,
Right.
And then we get a person that sends us a donation monthly, and they don't want anything. They just want to support our cause.
They want to make sure this exists.
Yeah.
The resource exists.
Are you a nonprofit or a for-profit organization?
Nonprofit organization.
Okay. So I think we need to hook her up with some folks that we've talked to in the nonprofit
we've got lots
space.
of. So after my first class, Terry actually announced all the different kind of partnerships they were doing, and so my first question was, who do you want to partner with, right? And how can I help, right? So I think what you're saying is there's other people like that too. There's listeners who will hear this and say, you know what, even if I'm not in St. Louis, this is something we need in our communities. And hey, then how can we replicate this model?
Absolutely.
Whether it's teachers who were part of making this possible in the first place, or if it's other practitioners who say this is really important. I started yoga. I think I shared with Alonzo, I took yoga in college so I wouldn't have to run. Right? Like I had a credit hour and a lack of physical activity. And I was like, I've been doing it for a long time.
This is the least threatening.
And who knew 20 plus years later I would still be doing it? I'm as surprised as anybody else, right? But, out of necessity came beautiful things, which it's just this ability to bring what is a physical practice, but is also a mental and an emotional practice into different spaces.
That's what yoga is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I'll say that St. Louis, I believe I had a woman of color who taught me in Weehawken, New Jersey. I will not claim to know which color she would claim as her own. No. But my first black teacher was St. Louis, and it was Stacy, and it was less a year and a half ago, right? Wow. So finding a black yogi, also finding a woman who looked more like me than what a stereotypical yogi looks like. I mean, we talked about the white middle class Lululemon wearing, right? I'm wearing my Columbia from Target, and I'm not, 120 pounds, and I can't really get into some of those poses.
See one, do one, teach one, as we always say.
But I can feel comfortable in those classes. I can do it.
If I can do it, I can teach it. And it's important that body types, people feel comfortable that, if I have a body type, like you said, it's not 110 pounds, and I can come in there and I feel comfortable and welcomed. I think that goes a long way for what you guys are doing.
And even in yoga teacher training, I was surprised, I don't know why, but I was surprised to see the women who I'm training with who do look more like a more stereotypical yogi, who also felt body issues about how they would show up and how they would be judged about how their body looks in yoga clothes.
That's one of our driving forces,
That's crazy to me, but it's...
Yeah.
So it's one of your driving forces?
Yeah, I mean, because we're all in education, and we see the same thing. Like, I was for a long time the only black male at my school. And even when I was in East St. Louis, I was the only black male math teacher in a black school, And so we talk about representation, and that's so important. So we represent, our day job is the same thing, and we're passionate about that. And so this... our secondary job is the same passion. So
tell us about, what's your vision for the collective? What are you guys, how do you see yourselves in 5 years? We talked about the chain starting, in Colorado and DC and other places. But where do you see yourselves in 5 years with your organization?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. So that question kind of goes against the whole practice of yoga, because yoga says we should stay in the moment.
Okay.
Non-attachment.
Exactly.
Good.
I think
good way to weave that in.
Right. Exactly. I think that the partnerships with the hospitals and some of the corporations, I think making sure those are strong, and then to be a staple. I mean, there's so many companies, wonderful companies that come into North St. Louis, North County, or Bosnian communities, or Cherokee Street. That's great. That's wonderful, and they probably have the same mission that we have. And a year from now, they're gone.
Yeah.
And so, like, not being that. So the very start is being here 5 years, right? Being here 5 years from now. But that's going to happen because of the partnerships. I think that's the vision. And then to have people who know who we are. So, really appreciate the fact that we're on this podcast and having other folks saying, hey, you have to have these people come and speak because they're doing some amazing work. And then being able to do presentations to the community.
Community focus.
100% community focus.
I love
That's it.
Ooh, I can think of some opportunities for partnerships too.
I had a few as well that I would like to loop you into.
Yes.
And you're also part of a bigger movement in the United States. So the fact that it took me 20 years to have a black yoga teacher is slowly becoming less of a phenomenon, correct? I know that, again, by the time our listeners are listening to this particular show, this particular conference will have come and gone, but we're having a very large gathering of black yogis in St. Louis very soon, correct?
Oh, where is it? And when is it? And where is it? You have to be a yogi?
No, you don't have to be a yogi.
Everybody's a yogi.
Right, true.
Yeah.
So in August, the Black Yoga Teachers Alliance They're going to bring what's called yoga as a peace practice to St. Louis. And we're having it that particular weekend to commemorate the death of Michael Brown. So it was around that time. And we're going to come together and talk about how yoga can be used as a way to practice peace and even to help, there are people who are activists who need that type of peace.
So is it going to be at your location or where's it going to be
so
held?
this is a other partnership that we have. So we are partnering with EdHub, which is right across the street from you guys, right?
Yeah, Sharita's been on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sharita has been on the show. I listened to that show.
Venture Cafe, guys.
Yeah. So Sharita over at EdHub, they're one of our partners. So they're partnering with us, and we're going to host the event at their location on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of August.
So is that 4240, Duncan?
It's probably 4220.
4220.
4220. Okay,
Yes.
the new. Okay.
Yes, the new.
Okay.
In the Cortex District.
Cortex District.
Yes.
Right. So this, I mean, the fact that we have this partnership is amazing. So we're really appreciative for that. The space is beautiful.
Yeah.
The space is going to create an energy that is peace filled.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is St. Louis is not necessarily healed from the death of Michael Brown.
Right.
Absolutely
It tore us apart, and we didn't do the work. One of the things that people talk a lot about is, in South Africa, during apartheid, they actually went through the work of having these conversations, and this is going to be an opportunity for us to have conversations.
Well, it's all about we talked about this before, systems change. How do you
dismantling and re-envisioning, right? So to reimagine yourself in yoga, to reimagine yourself in mindfulness and in healing and in peace. Yeah. It's an amazing opportunity.
Okay, I'm going to have to go. I'm going to have to bring my husband.
Oh my goodness.
Please
it's
do.
Another new horizon.
I'm telling you, with the whole float thing, I thought that was going to be a thing, but he loved it. I told you I was
think
terrified,
you're underestimating Alan. He's going to continue to surprise you.
Yes, we're going to have to visit the collective.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
I'm excited.
So if folks want to find out more about you, where should they look?
So they follow us on Instagram, Facebook. We're always posting things on there. Alonzo, what's the information?
It's at the Collective STL.
Yep.
And then I know that you make a tradition
Look for the tree.
Look for the tree.
Yes.
And look for the photos after every class.
Every class.
So they've documented the community.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can also find us on...
You taking photos of people in class or after the whole class is done?
It's a group photo after the class is
Good,
done.
because I was like, I am not having my
like
butt
a
up in
family
the air.
reunion.
Y'all take a picture.
This is about creating a healing space.
No trauma.
No
stress, right?
Trauma sensitive. Yeah. You can also follow us on or find us on our website at thecollectivestl.org.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Sounds great.
Well, thank you for everything you're doing, from your work as
having us.
educators to as founders and visionaries of the Collective STL, and the work that you're doing as teachers and practitioners.
Yes.
Thank you for making time to be with us and share that story.
This is phenomenal. Thank you.
Changing the way you view new ventures, unlocking your creativity and innovation, igniting your thinking about entrepreneurship. It's Entrepreneurially Thinking. Get connected and discover more. Visit entrepreneuriallythinking.com to listen to all your favorite episodes and learn more about our guests, hosts, and sponsors. Feeling inspired? Be sure to share your thoughts, questions, and stories in the comments section. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. The best way to show love is to share and subscribe. Let everybody know that you're entrepreneurially thinking.